Good morning, everyone. Happy New Year. This is my first Wednesday Facebook Live of 2020. I am so excited to be back home and in my craft room. There is a lot of cleanup to do in here from my pre-Christmas frenzy and then leaving quickly on holidays and just so many projects going on. But luckily, I don't work Wednesdays at school, so I've got today in my craft room to start to get things back in order and also to start to play with a bunch of new stamp sets. So hopefully by now, if you're on my mailing list, you have received your new mini catalog. This catalog is really, really amazing. I had an open house on the weekend and we went through it. Good morning, Janice. Good morning, Alice. We went through the catalog and I just kind of highlighted some of the changes that they've made. I really love the fact that there's just so many more ideas in this catalog, and the stamps and everything that are available are just absolutely gorgeous. So I didn't have to think too hard about where to start, although I've got lots of great new stamp sets out of this catalog. The Poppies are, hands down, my absolute favorite. So I thought this week we'll start there and then we'll slowly go through the catalog. Actually, I'm just going to show you the page because I'm allowed to now. I was never allowed to before, but now I'm allowed to show you pages inside the catalog. I just want to show you, so the Painted Poppies is actually two bundles. There's the Painted Poppies bundle, which is the nice stamp set with the dies. And then there's the Peaceful Moments bundle, which is some incredible sentiments and another set of dies. Both bundles are great, and you can get them as a whole suite, which is what I did, which gets you the DSP, the Painted Poppies bundle, the Peaceful Moments bundle, the sequins, the crinkle seam binding, and the Peaceful Poppy elements. So you get all of that all in one bundle. It is $186.25 though, so unless you're an avid crafter, you may want to just pick your favorite items. Today what I'm actually doing is just using the two stamp sets and neither of the die sets. We have gotten some word about our new die cutting machine, and the word is that we won't hear any words until June, so that's okay. So today I'm going to focus on a card created using just our stamp sets, and the two go beautifully together. And in fact, this Peaceful Moments set, I originally got it because it was part of the suite, and I'm finding now that it's actually my most used stamp set. Even when I'm using other stamp sets, I find I'm coming to this one for the sentiments because the font is beautiful and the sentiments themselves just kind of cover pretty much every occasion. So yeah, really I'm very pleased with this one, and the poppies are gorgeous. So let's get straight into this card, and I might stop and kind of show you a few things as we go along. In fact, one thing that I'd like to show you is that right now with Celebration on, it's basically for every $60 you purchase, it is a free Celebration stamp set. And so both of these bundles would actually qualify for you for that. So this bundle is $71. This one is as well. Or if you were to grab the two stamp sets together, they equal exactly $60. So you can grab these two stamp sets together, and you've got a $60 purchase, which is going to allow you to hop into our Celebration catalog and pick out a $60 value stamp set. So the Gangs All Mirror, just adorable. Let's see, the Lily Pads, which are a reversible stamp set. The sequins, and this is going to go fast, I just know it. Every year these items are just available while supplies last, and every year things sell out, and I'm positive that these sequins are going to go almost immediately. The Lily Impression Designer Series paper, this gorgeous birthday cake. I've seen some incredible things on Pinterest using this. The kerchief card kit. Card kits are always great to have, especially for the fancy envelopes that come with them. The Golden Honey Designer Series paper, which was a huge hit. I had a bunch of that to give away at my bingo day, and it's just beautiful. You know, another sentiment stamp set, some blooms. The punches are a little bit more, and then they do have this one bundle. It comes with this awesome embossing folder and stamp set, but that is a $120 purchase to earn that. Still, there's a lot of great stuff. And then if you can get your order all the way up to $375, maybe call up some friends or just, stock up on some envelopes and grab your paper pumpkin and everything. You've got your little ladybug that's actually absolutely free with an order of $375 or over. So lots of great stuff in the celebration. But like I said, these two stamps together equals exactly $60, which earns you one free celebration set. Pretty awesome. Good morning, Eileen. So today I'm going to actually make a card for you that I made for a swap that I just participated in. It's kind of a case. I took two cards that I found online that I loved and I smashed them together to make one beautiful card. So I need some black ink and some blocks. Today I'm going to grab the flower here. This is the flower from the Poppies that's kind of like on an angle, and that's the first thing that I'm going to ink up and stamp. I'm going to stamp it right up in the top left hand corner of my paper. Oh, hold still. There we go. So kind of as high as I can and as close to the side as I can without, going right off the page. All right. And I'm actually going to grab an envelope while I'm at it and give that a little stamp on my envelope as well. I always like to try and decorate my envelopes in some way, and it's always easiest to do that as you're creating the card. So there we go. Put that on my envelope. Awesome. Okay, with that done, I can clean that stamp up and set it off to the side. So the next part is kind of the reason I wanted to demo this swap card, because a lot of the ladies in my swap were like, oh, that's cool, but how did you do that? And wow, when I explained it to them, they're like, wow, that sounds complicated. And I just wanted to show everybody that it's really not that complicated. So now we're going to take this longer flower and put it on our block, but we're not going to ink it up entirely. When I ink this, the first time I ink it, I'm going to come in, and let's see if I can get this at an angle where you guys are going to be able to see this well. I'm putting my ink pad down so that it's inking like just kind of squared off. So I've inked just to the top of the stem and to the side of the stem. So the whole thing isn't inked up. Oh, Danielle, you are going to want this stamp set. It is absolutely my favorite. Okay, so now that I've inked that up, I'm going to pop that down on my page. And oops, it didn't go all the way to the top. I've done that a few times. That's where my black pen comes in, because luckily this is just a line drawing. So it's very, very easy to come in with the thin side of, there we go, make sure I grab the thin one. Come in with the thin side of this and just extend that, and then nobody will know. So nice and easy fix there. This is a very forgiving stamp set. So now that I've done that, I'm going to clean this off. Definitely going to use your chamois a lot in this card. So thank goodness the chamois exists. No chemicals, just water and stamping off. There we go. All right, so with that stamped clean, and you can see that that's, there we go. Now that it's dry, it's all clean. So now I'm going to come in and I'm going to ink just the flower. There we go. So I've got just the flower. And here again, this is super forgiving. I'm going to put this on the stem, just kind of off at an angle like that. And then I'm going to clean it again. So this is a card that's kind of best if you're making multiples, to, maybe practice once or twice and then just kind of, do this multiple, so you're not having to clean so often and then you end up with a bunch of cards at the end. All right, so now this final one, we're going to ink up just the little flower on the stem that loops over. And then, because I want to get this all lined up, I'm just going to grab a piece of scrap paper. Doesn't really matter what it is. and I'm going to line it up here at the bottom where my other flower stems end. And then I'm going to pop this guy in below the flower and stamp him. Okay, and I got a little bit of an extra edge there. Not a big deal. All right, so that is all of our stamping. Now we get to actually put this card together. Oh, sorry, it's not actually all of our stamping. We still have a sentiment to do. Okay, we'll worry about that after. All right, so there's lots of ways to color in these poppies. You can watercolor them, blender them, aqua painter them, actually stamp them with this image. So many different ways. My personal favorite though is to use my blender pens. So I'm coming in here with a dark old olive. You could also use the Granny Smith green, and that's actually the background color that I'm using when I mount this. It's actually the Granny Green, but I'm using the old olive to color in the stems. I just find it's just a little bit softer, a little bit more natural looking. And I'm really not being very careful at all, because of course the idea is that these are painted poppies. They're watercolored. They're going to be a little messy. So when I do these stems, I'm not really trying to stay in the lines. I'm just covering up. Okay, if you're the type of person who actually cares about that kind of thing, use the other end of the pen and it will go like stay in the lines and be beautiful and look all professionally done. I'm kind of going for that loose watery color look. You know what, you actually could use the markers. It would just be slower. And I find that this is actually very forgiving, because you can see here the ink pad, like the corner on that pad, that's all I inked up, was like I inked the corner on the pad, Eileen. So it actually, like, even if you're ink pad challenged, it's quite simple to do. And then this one's kind of the only challenging one. And you could always go in as well. When I've noticed that I've done that, I've just picked up my chamois and used my chamois to erase the excess ink that I got. After 1 or 2 tries, like the first time I tried it, I thought, oh my gosh, this is hard. Did it 2 more times just as practices, and then really no problems. And so much faster than inking it up with a marker. But you totally could do that. And now I'm coming in with my dark Poppy Parade, and I'm just coloring kind of like important areas that I figure should be darker. Coming along the bottom in these little sections that are folded over or supposed to be little gaps. And then in here I'm just going to go a little crazy, come up the sides a bit. So I'm not doing too much with the dark red on there. You could totally mask as well. Lots of different ways that you could achieve this. I'm just a little lazy, so that's the way I did it. All right. When I stamp, I tend to be pressed for time, so I always just kind of look for the fastest way to do something. Not necessarily the best or the easiest. All right. So now I'm going to come up with the light poppy and color this in. And I'm going to do one quick layer just to kind of get the whole surface wet again, and then I'll come in again and do the actual blending part. Just a little bit more. And so what I always say to people is, if you're the type of person who likes to have a clean inside of a card, make sure you're using these blends on a layer that's going to get glued onto something else, because otherwise the backs of these don't look very nice. The idea here is that we are trying to saturate the paper to get the really good blend happening. So you also want to stay a little bit away from your edges, unless you don't mind it bleeding out, which mine's doing a little bit. Now, I don't mind that because it is meant to be that watercolor look, which is never really perfect. There we go. So that is all colored. Now this little boo-boo that I made at the bottom actually doesn't matter at all, because I'm going to be putting a piece of satin ribbon around there. So I've got this gorgeous black satin ribbon. I think it's 3/4 of an inch. And I'm doing it the cheater way. going to cut this just a little bit longer than my page and put a little bit of snail on the tips. And I'm covering up the whole base of that flower anyways, which is kind of why I didn't want it going all the way down to the bottom, why I used that scrap paper to mask the bottom, because I wanted the clean white bottom on here. All right, then I'm going to come in and just do a loop around to create a little ribbon, or the ribbon, it is ribbon, to create a little bow. There we go. And I'll trim those edges. There we go. All right. So now I can play with that bow and move it around until it's in the spot where I want it. All right, with that done, I can put my ribbon away, put my scissors away. I'm trying to be really good about actually putting things away when I use them now. I've been really bad over the last month, and my room is showing it. All right, now I'm gonna grab some glue. And you could also, because there's a ribbon on here and you probably want this to really stick, you could also grab some tear and tape, which I find creates a good bond as well when you've got ribbon between layers. And I'm going to just layer this on. So this paper that I cut is kind of an unusual sizing. I'll get a ruler and let you know, because it's really, it's like 1/8 of an inch and stuff. Like, I think I grabbed a scrap that I figured everything would fit on, and then I just kind of copied that when I made my paper. So yeah, this is 2 1/8 for the white by 3 3/4. And then the green piece would be 1/8 of an inch bigger all around. So yeah, there we go. So that piece is done. Now I'm going to grab a piece of thick Whisper white cardstock and use that as my base. So there's my thick Whisper white. I've cut a piece of the, oh, good morning, Brenda. I've cut a piece of the DSP at 4 by 3, and this is the one with the stripes. The other side is gorgeous as well with the watercolor poppies on it, but I really wanted to have those stripes on there, and again, kind of the imperfect watercolory stripes. Everything's, you know, no real straight lines here. It's okay to be just a little bit sloppy on this card. All right. So I'm going to glue that piece on, just leaving a little bit of a border on all sides. And then, before I actually adhere this to my card, I'm just going to set it down to give myself an idea for space for stamping my sentiment. And so I've been doing the happy birthday on these. It fits nicely in that space, and will work out really well for all the birthdays that I have coming up this month. Here we go. All right, so grab that happy birthday. I've used mine, so I'm okay just stamping straight away, but if this is your first time using this set, I did find that it had a bit of a film on it, so make sure to, you know, do a couple stamps, use your chamois, give it a clean, take off that little film off of it, and just clean it up that way. All right, so now the trick is to find some dimensionals on my desk. And I just have a bunch of scraps here, which is fine. These edges work just as well as whole dimensionals. So I'm just going to cut some up. And I've got the 4 corners. There we go. I'm going to put one there. Right there. Right there. And finally, right there. So I'm just popping this piece up on my card. And then I've got one last finishing touch to put on here. We're going to add a little bit of sequins. And these sequins are really fun. There's just regular circles, little flower shapes, and all the different like dark and light red, gold, black, white, like all different colors in here. So let's grab that. Now my case, unfortunately, I ordered these in the same order that I ordered 2 packs of catalogs, and when somebody brought the box in from my house, they tipped it up on its side. This is not post people, this is people who live in my house. Tipped it up on its side. 2 boxes of catalogs came down and smashed my container. So I've got it all taped back together, unfortunately. Oh well, the sequins were just fine. Luckily, they ship these things in plastic bags, so when all the sequins spilled out of the bag, or out of the container, they stayed in the bag at least. And yeah. All right, here we go. So these can be a little bit finicky. This is where you can use your take a pick tool, or you can just show extreme patience and dig through them with your fingers like I do. I do have a take your pick tool, but I don't know why. I like to torture myself. So I'm just kind of using a mix here of the light red and the dark red, and doing a little bit. You could throw some gold on here as well if you wanted. And what I'm doing is I'm just putting the sequin straight onto a mini glue dot. As long as you're using the circles and not the little flowers, they are exactly the same size as a mini glue dot. And so it works really beautifully to make sure that they stay on your card. It's nothing worse than mailing your card. When it gets there, it's missing half the embellishments because they've fallen off. So this kind of prevents that. All right, last one. Pop that on there. And there you have it. We have our Happy Birthday Poppies card all complete. And ready to move on to stamp some other stuff. Oh, sorry, one last thing. I forgot to color our envelope. Now, the nice thing about coloring the envelopes is even though this kind of saturates, it doesn't go through both layers of the envelope, I find. If you look inside the envelope, you'll see that there is some color bleeding inside the envelope, but it dries and doesn't transfer your card or anything. And then it doesn't go all the way through. So quite nice. And I don't know about you, but I always like to get pretty things in the mail. All right, let's go to the edges here. Oh, thank you, Val. Thank you, Janice. Yeah, I was pretty happy with this. I participated in a swap where we each chose a suite and created a series of cards. And this was one of the last ones I created, but I think one of my favorites of the set. All right, a bit more blending there. Okay, no, that needs a bit more blending. You don't like it when I can see the streaks. There. All right, so there is our envelope finished and our lovely card to go with it. So I hope that you guys give it a try, playing around with those flowers and putting them on the stems and changing it up. You know, if you're not into that, the flowers the way they are really beautiful as well. But it actually is quite easy to manipulate them and kind of change up how the stems are and create some really neat stuff. So I hope you all have a wonderful Wednesday, and I will see you next Wednesday. Glad to be back into a routine and back in my craft room. Take care. Bye-bye.